You're listening to The First Question with Paul Hendrick, brought to you by Ballistic Sports. Follow Ballistic Sports on Twitter @Ballistic Sports. There's no tried and true method of getting to the NHL. Talent, of course, is a prerequisite, but so too the recognition that alongside that talent, hard work and perseverance must be equally matched. Undrafted, Tyler Bozak was undeterred. The Regina native is now an 11-year NHL veteran, a Stanley Cup champion, a proud husband, and father of 3 thriving Bozaks in suburban St. Louis. Tyler, this is such a far cry from your early days in Toronto, living with Phil Kessel and Stella. Just how far removed is your existence now from where you were not that long ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy journey, and I mean, it's all gone by so fast, which is kind of sucks. I mean, I definitely really enjoyed my time in Toronto. I'm really enjoying my time here in St. Louis. Just meet as many people as I did along the way, and build a family and start as a younger single guy, and find a wife and get married and have 3 kids. It's been a heck of a journey, and I've loved every minute of it.
Molly keeps us informed quite well via social media. We now see that Cannon, not yet 5, if my birthdays are correct, he's already begun to play hockey, draft eligibility 2033. This has got to be fun to watch him out on the ice, maybe getting a chance to relive what you did back in Regina.
Yeah, it's cool. He loves playing hockey. Our daughter Blake just started skating. She's just over 2 and a half, and she just started skating. So she loves it. She sees her brother do it and wants to be out there every time. But he's on a team now. They're playing games. It's a lot of time at the rink. I didn't really realize what my parents went through growing up with us and being at the rink as much as they were. So I'm just getting started, and we're spending a lot of extra time at the rink. So it's been fun just to see how much he loves it and to play the game. So he's really enjoying it, and it's fun to watch.
What you're not able to do because of weather and location is build a rink in the backyard. I know when you played in Toronto, we talked about it before, but it's worth mentioning again. The L-shaped backyard rink that your dad built for you and your brother Justin, and just how important it was in eventually getting you to that next step. But really, it's just a piece of Canadiana, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, without that, I don't know if I would have made it, or if my mom would have been able to handle us all just inside the house all day. So it was nice just to be outside, spend that time with my brother, and work on little things that happen in a game that you never would really work on, I guess, just the small area stuff. And it was just something that we loved doing. It could be, minus 50 out, and we'd be out there skating for hours, getting yelled at to come inside. So hopefully down the road, I'm able to, do something along those lines for the kids. I think, we'll be in Denver spending when I'm retired. So it can get cold enough out there that I might be able to get something going in the backyard for the kids. And just spending time in the outdoor rink was something that I cherished growing up. So it's something that I really want our kids to do.
I talked about the draft, and you weren't drafted. Did the possibility of getting to the National Hockey League seem remote as you ventured off to play Tier 2 junior at the age of 17 out in Victoria?
I honestly wasn't even really thinking about playing in the NHL at that time. I think my goal then was to get a scholarship and go to college and, play hockey out there, get a degree, and, see what happens. So I was just excited for the challenge of, going to play hockey somewhere else and seeing if I could get to the next level. And college was always on my mind and something I wanted to do. So, once things started going well in juniors and I had some really good schools offer me some scholarships, then I kind of started thinking that there was maybe a small opportunity there, but it still wasn't something I thought too much about until teams started kind of visiting me during my freshman year of college.
Interesting. When you think you make the decision to head west to Victoria, you get a chance to play with the pre-bearded Ben brothers. What did you see back then that might have indicated prosperous careers for both Jordy and Jamie in the National Hockey League?
Yeah, I mean, they were both great players, still are, both great guys. And, Jordy was just, a puck-moving defenseman who could play tough, play hard. And Jamie was this young kid who, was shy and just had a heck of a shot. And, he'd just get in fights some games. And we were just like, what's going on here? But he was a great player. So they both, I had a good feeling that they both were going to, be able to do some damage. And and make it far, and just to see how well they've done. It's been great. I don't really love playing against them, to be honest, both of them, but it's been great to see their success.
Your dad, Mitch, was a prominent player back in the day with the Trail Smoke Eaters and the University of Saskatchewan. Where did he make his greatest impact on you looking back, do you think, whether it be on the ice or off?
I mean, probably off the ice, to be honest, just taught me basically everything I know on and off the ice. But I think just those values off the ice have helped me get where I am, just, being respectful, treating everyone the same, and working extremely hard and having fun, and, not putting too much pressure on myself. Just enjoy it, work as hard as you can. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So just have fun with it. So, I always just had fun. And just played as much as I could and enjoyed it. I think a big thing growing up for me was I didn't just play hockey. I played like every sport. And that's something I'm trying to do with my kids too. I notice too much nowadays. I think kids get too drawn into one sport, and it's a year-round thing, and they just do it every day. And I think what helped me become better at hockey and as a person was just playing all those different sports, learning all those different sports, being around all different kids, people. And I think all those things go hand in hand to the one sport you do pick as you do get older. You play basketball or volleyball, and you get that hand-eye coordination. I think everything kind of comes together as one in the end.
I remember Joe Newendike telling us, living in Dallas, and his son, he took him out for 3 weeks, and everybody on that travel team had been in hockey schools, and his son was already that far behind. And just the anxiety as a parent for your kid of having done it. And I remember Pat Quinn telling me about his daughter who quit a full ride scholarship in swimming at Penn State because she was burnt out. I think it's important, as you say, you've got to diversify.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of work for sure for my parents. We were going from hockey practice straight to basketball or to volleyball. And then summer we were soccer, golf, just pretty much everything. And it was a ton of fun. You got your different friends group that play different sports. So you got to become friends with a lot of different people, meet a lot of new people. It's something I'm trying to push on my kids. I know it's harder nowadays. You kind of pick your sport early and stick with it, but I'm trying to get them to diversify, like you said, and play as many as possible.
You've always been humble, and you come by it honestly. I read a story somewhere of your dad having to put insulation up at the cottage, and there was no way he was going to hire somebody to do it. You and Justin were doing it. And you're a bona fide star in Toronto, and there you are alongside your brother. That's just a sample of who your dad is, and of course your mom right there with him.
Yeah, he definitely instilled the work ethic in us, getting stuff done, working together to complete a goal. There's always something going on back home. He's cleaning the garage, he's fixing this, he's building the shed at the lake. So when I go home, I know I'm getting put to work, and we still do it. My brother still does a ton of stuff back there around the cabin and whatnot, but that'll never change. It's something that he instilled in us and still does to this day.
You've been described back then as a late bloomer. What was it about your NCAA experience that made it so important to your development as you moved along?
Yeah, I was definitely shorter, smaller, which kind of played a role back then in the hockey world, I think, more than it does so now. But the big thing for me in college was just you have all week to train and practice, and then you play the games on the weekends. So I think that extra practice time and extra time in the gym just really helped me develop and, get better on the ice and off the ice.
The important thing about college, of course, is the balance. I remember Christian Hansen talking about coming from that every second weekend, you're going away somewhere to play a couple of games, and how exhausting Sunday was to get prepared for what had to be handed in Monday. Do you recall the academic challenges that went along with playing hockey?
Yeah, it was tough. You had to balance your time. You had your hockey that you really had to focus on, but at the same time, you had your schoolwork, which was the number one thing. And at Denver, school always came before hockey. If you weren't performing in the classroom, then you weren't going to play. So that was something we all had to do, and it kind of helped me learn how to, spend my time better and how to control everything like that. And I think that helps now with having the kids. I got multitasking a lot. Yeah. So I think that helped me.
You played for the legendary George Gwizdecki, not necessarily a household name in these parts, but certainly was in Denver. 33 years coaching overall, 19 in Denver alone. What an institution he must have been.
Yeah, I got really lucky to have a coach like him when I got to college, and I was kind of starting to find my game. And he was such a smart coach that, again, instilled those values off the ice of being a good person and being a good teammate, and that was his number one thing. And our assistant coaches there, Steve Miller and Derek Lalonde, were also just fantastic for my on ice to get better, and off ice too. They taught me a lot of great values there on and off the ice at Denver.
You tear a meniscus in your sophomore season at Denver. How emotionally challenging was that, given the fact that NHL scouts were knocking on your door and you were at a career crossroads, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, it was tough, definitely. I mean, we had a really good team. We were top 5 in the nation, I think, at the time, and expected to do big things. And it was a 4-month recovery, so it was tough. Luckily, I did have my friends at school and that schoolwork to fall back on to kind of take your mind off of missing all those games. But it was tough. I think just rehabbing and everything, trying to get ready. I knew that it was a surgery that I was going to get back to full health, so I wasn't too worried about the future and everything like that. I just kind of at that time was just worried about being with my teammates and playing that season.
Berkey began his career as a player rep for predominantly American college graduates, so he was at home with trying to recruit you. But Joe Nieuwendyk, a Cornell grad, is sent to talk with you. What did Newy say to you that sold Toronto to the Bozaks and the opportunity to bring you to Eastern Canada?
Yeah, I think both him and Berkey, they were just they were great to me. I didn't know much about the NHL or what it was like, so they explained all that to me. Berkey flew out to Regina and spent some time with my parents, and that was really important to them. I know that, and they were just both super honest. They told it how it was. They told me they liked me. I'd have to come in. I'd have to earn it, and but they really liked to have me, and that was nice to hear. I just love to hear the honesty.
Berkey tells a time of when Lou Lamoriello came to his parents' place to sell them on Providence College. Lou never spoke to Brian. I assume you were in the room when Brian went out to visit your mom and dad. Was there a similar type experience? Because Berkey he's one of the great salesmen.
I actually wasn't home at the time. It was during school year, I think, and he flew out there to meet with them, which kind of shows a lot about him. He knows that family is very important, and that was something he instilled with our teams all the time, is that we're a family, and we stick together and we stick up for each other. And my parents really enjoyed that he came out and saw him, was honest with them, and was a really good man.
Luke Shane chatted with me a few weeks ago, and he talked about the enormity of getting drafted by the Leafs first round and having to deal with all of us in the media. Do you recall coming around the corner in that Leaf dressing room and seeing that packed dressing room to meet Tyler Bozak as you come limping in with Berkey? It had to be, I don't know if it's inspiring, but overwhelming at least.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. It's a lot of pressure. For those first round guys, especially, there's a ton of pressure there, and I think some people thrive under that, and it's tough for some people. It takes a special person to come into a market like Toronto and have all these expectations, and it's pretty hard to live up to the majority of them, I would say, for most people. But at the same time, it's just an unbelievable place to play and live, and the fans are so passionate. There's so much to do. It's a fantastic city, so there's a lot of things, a little give and take there.
You played a half season with the Marlies, and it can be argued you were a much better player at the NHL level than at the American Hockey League level, and you're not the first one to come by that. That said, how important was your American League experience back then, and why?
Yeah, it was huge. I think just to kind of feel out the schedule of how many games you're playing, it's a lot different than college. You're playing 3-3s in the American League. You're not doing that in the NHL, but that's still just to do that and get used to that. And a lot of travel, a lot of time away from home that I wasn't used to. It was huge for my development for sure.
not all great players get to the National Hockey League. And in your brief time with the Marlies, you get to play with a former teammate in Greg Scott, who's a legend over in Europe. What do you remember from Greg? And maybe explain just for our listeners and viewers just how good a hockey player he was and is.
Yeah, I mean, I knew him a little bit from Victoria days. So, yeah, I knew how good he was. Just such a smart player. I think that's one aspect of a lot of people's games that kind of goes unnoticed by a lot of people, is just like little things on the ice that players will do that, someone might not notice, but a lot of players will notice, just if it's just to get open for you or find a spot for you on the ice, give you a little extra time and space, just these tiny little things that make it easier on everyone else you're playing with. So he's kind of one of those guys that if you're playing on a line with him, people might not notice it, but he's making everything a lot easier for you, and he's not getting the credit for it. So it takes a special person to play a style like that.
And that Marley roster, Tyler Bozak goes on to win a cup, Victor Stahlberg, and of course Mike Zigomanis, I think the year before. Let's go to this current Leaf team, and I see the role Zach Hyman plays with Toronto and complementing some very talented mates. Did Ncaa Coolman fit that role with you and Phil in terms of what he was able to do in retrieving pucks and creating space?
Yeah, I mean, just a workhorse. They're same on that, just so strong. I remember just with Hymes, nobody can get the puck off him, really. And if he goes into a corner with the guy, he's gonna get that puck, and he's gonna find whoever he's playing with, and then he's gonna go to the net. And to make a good line, I don't think you can just put your three highly skilled whatever players and expect it to work. You need guys to work well together in a certain dynamic to make those lines work. So a guy like him fits in very well with highly skilled players, and I'm sure they love playing with him too.
Mitch Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, chatted with me at rookie camp in Niagara Falls back in the summer of 2016. He was fed up with all the talk about Mitch being undersized. And I mentioned to him, well, you've got to talk to Tyler Bozak, because that was all you heard, it seemed like the first couple of years. I said, you don't hear Bozie hearing that about it at all. Darren was very happy to hear that because it just irritated him. And of course, his client. It had to irritate you for the first couple of years because it was a commonplace question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just at the start, I think I learned pretty quickly that you can't really let that stuff get to you, especially in a market like Toronto. You got to just, you got your close group that, can criticize you and tell you if they don't think you're doing something wrong on the ice, but you can't let that outside stuff really get to you. I mean, Mitch, for instance, I think he would be a worse player if he was bigger, to be honest. He does so many things so well because of his size. It's so hard for, big defenders to control him or contain him. And he's just learned throughout his whole life how to play at that size and been super successful for it. I mean, yeah, I think he's one of the best small players. And I think people are realizing now you don't really need to be big to go in the corner and win a battle. You need to be smart, and you need to learn how to do certain things to beat certain guys in certain battles, and Mitch does all that.
9 years in Toronto, Tyler, 3 goals stand out for me. Your first against the Flyers, your first NHL goal, of course, the shootout at the Big House, and you ended, and the Game 3 overtime winner in 2017 against Washington. Can you delve on both and just provide us a snippet, an iota of memory that tells us why they still stand out for you?
Yeah, those are probably the 3 that stand out to me the most as well. Obviously, your first goal is a dream come true, and I was lucky enough to have a pretty nice one that I don't have to lie about and can show people on YouTube that I actually did score a nice goal. So that's nice to have my parents there for that game was pretty cool. The outdoor game, it was the first one that I had played a few now. So just growing up and playing outside as much as I did, to be in that moment and have the game on my stick was a cool opportunity. And I'll definitely never forget that. A lot of friends and family at that game. And then the playoff overtime goal, I think, obviously things didn't go so well the first however many years in Toronto. And us as players, everybody just wants to win a Stanley Cup and make the playoffs. So to get in the playoffs and have an overtime game and, help the team win in that situation was a big moment for me. Just putting so much time and effort into the Leafs and wanting that team to succeed so bad.
let's go back to the big house for a moment. What a day. Dion gets a new contract. John Michael was traded to Carolina. And all of a sudden, 106,000 people, you're on the line. It was so surreal. The snow's coming down, but you were in your office. I mean, you were always very comfortable doing that, weren't you? I mean, does that go back to road hockey days? Where does that go back to, the ability to score consistently as well as you did on a shot in front of an audience as big as that?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think just got confidence with it after a few started going in early. And then you just get, whenever you're confident, everything's easier and everything's smoother. I've felt in any aspect of life. So just being confident is a huge thing, I think. So yeah, it's fun to have those opportunities. I definitely was a little nervous. I still get nervous, which I like. I like the feeling of getting nervous, and you want to still get nervous. So I still do. And definitely was nervous in Michigan there when I had that shot. But once you pick up the puck and start going on down the ice, you kind of, all that stuff goes away, and it's just, your instincts then.
Phil eventually gets traded, and all the so-called experts predict your offensive demise. That, as we know, didn't happen. In fact, your numbers went up. Do you have a theory why, as you, Mitch, and JVR were paired together and really took off?
No, I think I always just tried to keep getting better each year. I think the more you play, the more confident you get, the better you're going to get. The more you learn how to play in the league. Obviously, Phil was amazing for me. I still keep in touch with him. He's one of the best guys that I've ever played with, for sure. I got to spend some time with him in the bubble, which was pretty fun. But yeah, JVR was another guy that we just worked well together, as a pair. He was a guy who loved going to the net, and I love playing with guys that go to the net like that. I think it's always important to have someone at the net, and a skilled guy like that. So I've been pretty blessed to play with the players I've had, and a lot of my success in my career I attribute to that, just having the great line mates that I have had.
Stanley Cup season with St. Louis. You guys are in early season, and Tyler, I know at that time things weren't going well. We in the media had everybody parceled off that roster. Braden was going somewhere. Alex was coming to Toronto. We thought you just signed a new deal. You were going to stay put. What changed? Where along the way did things change? Did it begin in nets with Jordan Bennington joining the team, or did it go well beyond that?
Yeah, I think it was. Well, I think we had a lot of new guys come in that year and play in key spots in the lineup. So I think it takes a little time to develop that chemistry, find the line mates that you're going to play with. Obviously, O'Reilly coming in, being a top line guy, you have to find the right kind of molds, the right lineup that you want to use, the guys that play best with certain guys. So, you know what, there was not really any worry. We felt as players that we had a really good team. And then Chief came in, and he's been fantastic. I love that guy. He's been awesome for us. He's a great coach. And then obviously Bennington, him and Jake Allen together did a fantastic job for us. They were a great tandem. They push each other to be better, and two great guys. So that year was a ton of fun.
Describe the odyssey of 26 games to win that championship, both physically, emotionally, not only on you, on Molly, everyone involved. Yeah,
it's definitely not easy. You realize that after you get out of a couple rounds and get to the next round. There's every little play, every game is so important. There's things that happen throughout the series, like that hand pass against San Jose where we lost in overtime. And I think we had that adversity early in the season, so it kind of helped us be able to battle through things like that. There's little small adversities that are going to happen throughout a season, throughout the playoffs, and you just got to put them behind you and move on to the next thing. And it was pretty cool for my parents, and they were coming to a lot of the road games wherever we were. They were coming to every home game. So I know my dad and mom really enjoyed that, my brother. And then Molly and Cannon were at a bunch of games and at Game 7 in Boston. So to have my little guy on the ice and, get to see the cup and be part of it, it's a pretty cool memory for me.
I know you didn't play in Game 7 in Boston in 2013, but the pendulum in sport has a tendency to swing one way and then the next. It had to feel good to win it there. At least as one of a former member of Leafs Nation, I mean, it had to feel good regardless of the cup. I know that you had a lot of fans up here who were very happy with the result.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of where it was, I think it would have felt amazing. I remember, funny story, I think there was 4 or 5 minutes left, and I was sitting beside O'Reilly on the bench, and I think we were up 4-0 at the time, and he looked at me, he said, we did it. And I was like, whoa, just not yet. Because I had that memory of that game there before in my head still. So, but once it got down to a minute, I had a good feeling that we were going to get it done.
As John Michael said, we were up 4-1 and we had a breakaway. I go, yeah, Frats had the breakaway, wide left. Oh my, planning for a cup visit to Regina might have been more hectic rather than planning for your wedding in Vail. Braden gets the cup on July 6th. You and Jordan get it in Regina. What was it like sorting out where that cup had to go between the two of you? And you guys did a great job in terms of satisfying everybody's wants back then.
Yeah, well, luckily we had our parents to really do most of the work behind all of that. I can't really say I did a whole too much planning myself. I had a good support group there. My brother and mom and dad back home kind of got the majority of it set up for me. I just had to kind of tell them what I wanted to do and whatnot. So I was lucky there, but yeah, it worked out great. It was awesome to bring it back to our hometown where everything started and, where we grew up playing and see all family and friends. It was perfect.
I'm going to end it on one question between a fire drill here. I know you've got 3 kids there and it's incredibly quiet. Thanks for all that. But if the kids are involved, by all means.
Hey, one just ran in here.
Where's Cannon?
Mine's downstairs. Daddy's on a call, okay?
Is there girls hockey in St. Louis, Tyler?
Oh, yeah. Hockey's pretty big here, so it's been good.
Good. We know it's in Colorado by the time she gets around to playing as well. Listen, Dad's trips. Jeff Shen may have the record. I think he's been on 17 of these. He was in 2 in 1 year when Braden was traded. But Mitch had a blast as well, and he's a veteran of all of these. As a senior reporter for Blues TV, Chief got a kick. I don't think there's ever been a reporter/parent that's questioned the coach about his son's lack of playing time. What was that like?
Oh, it was funny. Everyone was getting a hoot out of that. I mean, that's just how my dad is. It's always making people laugh and cracking jokes, and that's something I try and do too. His humor is so good. So, one of the dad's trip, I asked if maybe he'd let my brother come on one of them, and there's no chance my brother's getting in. So, I love having him on him. He knows the ropes now. It all goes smooth with him. So I know how much he loves it. So it's really fun to do those every year.
Yeah, first ballot Dad's Trip Hall of Fame, Doug Ord be in there, and Sam Kadri, I can mention a few. Tyler Bozak, a Stanley Cup champion as a St. Louis Blue, always remembered, however, in these parts as a Toronto Maple Leaf, a hockey odyssey that once began in Regina continues to thrive well into its 4th decade. Bozie, thanks so much for this.
No, thanks for having me, and all the best to you with whatever comes next.
You're listening to The First Question with Paul Hendrick, brought to you by Ballistic Sports. Follow Ballistic Sports on Twitter @Ballistic Sports.